5, and we're continuing with this ecstatic chapter 10, Adi-lila chapter 10, from the Caitanya Caritamrta Adi-lila chapter 10. So we'll begin. Agyan timirandasya gyananjala shalakaya chakshu unmilitam jena tasmaya shri gurave namaha. Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadaleye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapatantikam Adadinastanandantiya Idam Yache Puna Puna Srimad Rupam Padam Bojo Dulishyam Janma Janmani Priya Sarupe, Dayata Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahajabi Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhuika Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swabala Sarupe. Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavaratino Kalo, Samarapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swa Bhakti Shriyam, Hari Purata Sundarata Tikatam Basatapita, Sada Hridare Kandare Sparatu Basachinandanaha. Yam pravajantamanapethyam apeti-krityam dvaipaino viraha katara ajuhava putreti tam matayo taravo vinidustam sarvabhutam hridim munimanatoshmi bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay shiptasya karmadi tarangamadye kripa maitvam sharanam prapana brinde namaste charanarvindam Bhajami radham aravinda netram smarami radham madhurashmitasyam vadami radham karana baradram tato mamanasti katina kapi tavaivasmi najivami tvayivina iti vignaya radhe tvam naimam charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And again, I'm offering millions of Dandavat pranams unto Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again, my Sastang Dandavat pranams to our dearmost Srila Krishna's Kaviraj and all our divine Rupanuga Guru Varg and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhuvevacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So we're scrolling through these different branches of the Chaitanya tree and very ecstatic to appreciate this. Last time I was saying how when Krishna comes with his whole entourage, these same personalities are again accompanying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but in their Caitanya Lila forms, in their Gora forms. So it's a similar appreciation of all these Nitya Siddhi Parikars, because they were all exceptional personalities, hungry to serve the Lord in any capacity. So this was the perfect opportunity for them to serve the Lord by helping him liberate and enlighten the entangled jivas of this world with the highest benediction of ultimately service to Sri Radhika, which was unheard of previously. Krishna's even association with his Shakti was not accentuated previously. It was not prominent. Only Mahaprabhu. Well, when Krishna comes, of course, in his actual Leela, but no one knew about Krishna's Leela in Vrindavan when he was present. Just the gopis themselves understood what was happening. And Uddhav understood something, but practically nobody else understood really what was happening between Krishna and the Brijvasis. Something was there, but there was no clear realization of what Krishna was doing. Leela Purushottam. he was enjoying his own leelas, and we can say like a private way, in a sense, in Vrindavan. And then, of course, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, then he opens out to the rest of the world by instructing Arjuna in the precepts of Bhagavad Gita. So now we're continuing with all the different personalities. We've reached text 106. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Sankaranya Charya Vrikrishera Ekar Shaka Mukunda Kashishnath Rudra Upasaka Leka. Translation. The Acharya Sankaranya was considered the 48th branch of the original tree. From him proceeded the sub-branches known as Mukunda, Kashishnath, and Rudra. Purport. It is said that Sankaranya was the sannyasi name of Srila Vishwarup, who was the elder brother of Vishwambara, the original name of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is in Navadvip. In Navadvip, Nimai grows up with his brother Vishwarup, who later, when he hears that his parents want to get him married, then he leaves the home and he takes sannyas, and his name then is Sankaranya. Sankararanya. Sankararanya expired in 1510, 1432 Shakabda. So 1510 is the exact year that Mahaprabhu leaves Navadvip. He leaves Navadvip, he takes the renounced order himself. So Sankaranya, his identity merges with Nityananda. So when Nityananda arrives in Navadvip later, probably around this same time, actually, around this same time, about 1510, 1511, then Sankaranya has already merged into his body. That's Baladev, has already come into his body then. Expired in Sholapur, where there is a place of pilgrimage known as Pandarapur. This is referred to in Madhya Lila, chapter 9, verse 299 and 300. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhasya, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu opened a primary school in the house of Mukunda, or Mukunda Sanjay, and Mukunda's son, whose name was Purushottam, became the Lord's student. Kashishnath arranged the marriage of Lord Chaitanya in his previous ashram, when his name was Vishwambara. Kashishnath induced the court Pandit Sanatan to offer Vishwambara his daughter. In text 50 of the Gaura Ganadesh Deepika, it is mentioned that Kashishnath was an incarnation of the Brahman Kulaka, whom Satrajit sent to arrange the marriage of Krishna and Satyabhama. And in the text 135, it is mentioned that Rudra, or Sri Rudrama Pandit, was formerly a friend of Lord Krishna's named Varutapa. Sri Rudraram Pandit constructed a big temple at Vallabhpur, which is 1 mile from Mahesh, for the deity's name Radha Ballabh. The descendants of his brother Yadunandan Vandyopadaya are known as Chakravarti Thakurs, and they are in charge of the maintenance of this temple as Sevites. Formerly, the Jagannath deity used to come to the temple of Radha Ballabh from Mahesh during the Rath Yatra festival. But in the Bengali year of 1262, which is AD 1855, Due to a misunderstanding between the priests of the two temples, the Jagannath deity stopped coming. So I don't know how the mathematics works, that between 1262 and 1855, that's a considerable jump. Previously, I thought it was a 78-year-old difference between the Shagabda era and but the Bengali year must be different from the Shagabda era. But understand, this main personality is Sankaranya, because there is much written in the Chaitanya Bhagavat about Vishwarup and his divine qualities. And Mahaprabhu and Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra were so attached to him. He was such a gentle personality. And in contrast to the restlessness of young Nimai, when Nimai was restless in his childhood, it would always be by the presence of Vishwarup that would calm him down and settle him. So then he leaves home. Of course, Jagannath Mishra becomes mortified, and very soon after that, Jagannath Mishra, he leaves his body also, just as we have the father of Nityananda, Hadai Pandit. When Nityananda leaves home, Hadai Pandit just becomes like a dumb man, and after 3 months he leaves his body also. So Jagannath Mishra was the same when Vishwarup leaves home. But then Vishwarup, when he leaves his body, it's saying here expired in 1510, he would have left home earlier than that. He would have left home probably 5 or 7 years before that, and wandered in South India and then expired, so that his identity would merge with Nityananda Prabhu, because they are one. Vishwarup and Nityananda are one. Okay, text 107. Srinath Pandit Prabhure Kripara Bhajana Yanra Krishna Seva Deki Vasa Tribhuvana. Translation. Srinath Pandit, the 49th branch, was the beloved recipient of all the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everyone in the 3 worlds was astonished to see how he worshipped Lord Krishna. Purport. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhasya, about 1.5 miles away from Kurmahatta or Kumarhatta, which is a few miles from Kolkata, is a village known as Kanchadapad, which was the home of Shivananda Sen. There he constructed a temple of Gaura Gopal. Another temple was established there with Radha Krishna Murtis by Srinath Pandit. The deity of that temple is named Sri Krishna Rai. The temple of Krishna Rai, which was constructed in the year 1708 or 1786 by a prominent zamindar called Nimai Mullik of Paturia Ghat in Calcutta, is very large. There is a big courtyard in front of the temple, and there are residential quarters for visitors and good arrangements for cooking prasadam. The entire courtyard is surrounded by very high boundary walls, and the temple is almost as big as the Mahesh temple. Inscribed on a tablet are the names of Srinath Pandit and his father and grandfather, and the date of construction of the temple. Srinath Pandit, one of the disciples of Advaita Prabhu, was the spiritual master of the 3rd son of Shivananda Sen, who was known as Paramananda Kavi Kanapur. It is said that the Krishna Rai deity was installed during the time of Kavi Kanapur. According to hearsay, Virabhadra Prabhu, the son of Nityananda, brought a big stone from Murishidabad, from which 3 deities were carved, namely the Radha Vallabha Vigraha, the Vallabh of Vallabhapur, the Shamsundara Vigraha of Kadadha, and the Sri Krishna Rai Vigraha of Kanchadapada. Kanchadapada. The Kanchadapada. The home of Shivananda Sen was situated on the bank of the Ganges near an almost ruined temple. It is said that the same Nimai Mullik of Calcutta saw this broken down temple of Krishna Rai while he was going to Benares, and thereafter constructed the present temple. So actually this pastime of Virabhadra Prabhu is very famous. Virabhadra, the son of Nityananda Prabhu, was born in Kardaha, where he stayed with his divine father and mother Vasudha, and Nityananda has two wives, Janava Devi and Vasudha, and they lived in Kardaha. So Virabhadra has his place there today. You can go there today, and there's a very beautiful murti. We'll post the murti on our thread, you can see. And Virabhadra was instructed by his divine father, Nityananda Prabhu. Virabhadra is considered non-different to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Virabhadra was instructed by his father to manifest the deity of Sham Sundar, the Vigraha of Shama Sundara. So the pastime is very interesting that he was wandering in the township of Kadaha, and he saw a very large black stone above the gateway into the local zamindar, the Muslim in charge of that city. And that Muslim was actually very envious of Virabhadra. Virabhadra Prabhu would demonstrate many miracles in his life. And this, I think, this is my own personal understanding, that we don't hear so much about Virabhadra, some of his pastimes, but this particular pastime is quite famous, of carving these deities, because he was performing many divine, mystical miracles. And if someone thinks that this is the path, is to develop our yogic siddhis so we can perform miracles, this is not the path of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu showed us the path of bhajan to Radha and Krishna, and understanding that we are always servants of Radha and Krishna. But Virabhadra Prabhu, he demonstrated a number of remarkable pastimes. And one of these was he saw this big black stone on the gatehouse, perspiring. And then this pastime is described by Vrindavan Das Thakur in his Nityananda Vistara book. And he immediately thought, this is the perfect stone to follow the order of my father to carve the Sham Sundar deity. So he goes into that Muslim Qazi's, Muslim Qazi, into his palace to request the stone. And the Muslim Qazi is very envious of Virabhadra. And actually, he tries to poison Virabhadra. He tells Virabhadra, let me give you some prasadam. So he's a Muslim. So Virabhadra, he understands what's happening, of course. So the pastime is described that this Qazi brings a plate of poisoned foodstuffs. And immediately, flowers come out of all the food. And the Qazi is just astonished to see this. And he sends the plate away and arranges for another plate with more poison in it to offer to Virabhadra. And again, the same thing happens. The whole plate sprouts up with flowers in front of them both. And then again, a third time, a plate is brought. And again, it does like this. And at this time, the Qazi understands this is a most divine personality. And then he offers his obeisances and humbly begs his forgiveness for trying to poison him. And Virabhadra, he forgives him straight away. And then the Kazi is requesting, you please take anything you want. Ask me for some benediction or anything. And then Virabhadra says, well, you have a large black stone on your gateway. He saw this stone in the afternoon, and the stone itself was perspiring. So he realized this is a special stone. Actually, the history of that stone, that black rock, is described that it came originally from Mathura, and it was the same rock that Kamsa had smashed the 6 sons of Devaki on. It was the same rock. This is how the pastime is described. And then Virabhadra, he takes that rock, that stone, large stone, and then he carves the first deity. And the first deity is called Nandulal. It's described here a different name, Krishna Rai. But today that same deity is called Nandulal. And then he wasn't satisfied with that deity being the exact description of the Sham Sundara deity that Nityananda had ordered him to manifest. So then he makes another deity out of that same stone, and that deity is Radha Ballabh. And he's still not satisfied with that deity. This is just Ballabha, the deity of Ballabha, and then Radha appears later. And then the third time, the last part of the stone, he carves the Sham Sundar deity. And then Virabhadra feels in ecstasy. Yes, this is the deity that was revealed in my heart that my father ordered me to manifest. So that deity is Sham Sundar. Now these 3 deities are present today, and of course, it's just north of Calcutta, or on the very fringes of Calcutta. And these deities are about 12 miles apart from each other. And it's said that if you visit all these 3 deities in a day, in the same day have darshan of these 3 deities, then all of your aspirations for bhakti will be fulfilled. So I, with a few friends, Tapasya Maharaj and others, we did that one time, and we visited all these 3 deities, and we have photographs we're going to post. And we got stuck in a traffic jam, almost didn't get the last deity, but we finally did. So we saw all these 3 deities in a day. But the deity of Sham Sundar is an exquisite deity, but you're not allowed to take photographs. And this deity of Sham Sundar is right next to the house where Nityananda lived in Kandahar. And in that house, there's a beautiful deity of Virabhadra Prabhu. And in the courtyard of that house, which has actually today become like a car park, there's a huge concrete slab. And this is considered the samadhi of Ganga Muni, who is Nityananda's daughter, and Virabhadra Prabhu in that double samadhi right in the middle of that car park of a house. So that's the situation today. And we can send you, I'll send you a picture of the house also afterwards, and you can see inside our beautiful deities. But all this pastime is very much alive when you go to just north of Calcutta, and you can visit these deities today. And by taking the time to make these pilgrimages, these personalities become more alive in your consciousness, because you see the actual places where they stayed and lived, etc. So these deities, this Krishna Rai Vigraha is the same deity as Nandulal Jui described in Saibon. So these deities are there. So that's the pastime. And this pastime is from Vrindavan Das Thakur's Nityananda Vistarya. And that's there's an English translation of that. But I won't be sharing that. I don't think it's been translated so well. So these histories are somewhat buried, but they are there, and I'm sure in future, then very bona fide descriptions of these pastimes will manifest. So text 108. Jagannathacharya Prabhur Priya Dasa Prabhura Ajnata Teno Kaila Gangadvas. Translation. Jagannathacharya, the 50th branch of the Caitanya tree, was an extremely dear servant of the Lord, by whose order he decided to live on the bank of the Ganges. Purport. Jagannath Acharya, as stated in the Dipika 111, to have formerly been Durvasa. I don't quite know why it's saying Durvasa of Niduvan. It's in the Dipika, it says Durvasa Muni. So there's only one celebrated Durvasa Muni, and his place, Shripad, is just on the other side of the Jamuna from Mathura. And my Gurudev re-established that particular temple. It's there today, Durvasa Rishi Ashram, it's called. And we can send you a picture of that also. But that Durvasa Rishi Ashram is where Durvasa Muni had his 60,000 followers. It's a hill just back from the Jamuna, which wouldn't flood when Jamuna floods. So my Gurudev was given the titles for that, the papers, the owners of it, or those who had inherited it, gave those papers to my Gurudev. And my Gurudev waited until it had been fully established in the courts that the titles were fully bona fide. Then as soon as they were verified, he immediately went there with the first pranamis from the Western tours that he was getting, and established a very, very huge Durvasa Rishi ashram there. You'll see it's a huge, huge temple. Thousands and thousands of people come every year on Vasant Panchami to celebrate. So many people come that there are stairways going in one direction and there's a stairway going out, so the crowd flow can revolve around, because on the day of Vasant Panchami is the day when Durvasa Rishi extended his benedictions to the gopis, and there's the beautiful pastime of the gopis coming across the Jamuna and having darshan of Durvasa Muni. But there's many pastimes around there, but I'll continue on with these descriptions. But this is formerly being Durvasa Muni. And Durvasa Muni, of course, has his pastimes in all the 4 yugas, in Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwarpa Yuga, and Kali Yuga. Durvasa Rishi is there with his various pastimes. In Ram Chandra's Lila, he's there at the very end. And so many pastimes of Durvasa Rishi. And his manifesting is very wonderful from his mother, Anusuya. Anusuya is his mother, and his father is considered Atri Rishi. Atri Rishi is his father, who is one of the sons of Lord Brahma. So this pastime is described. I'll just tell this pastime briefly. We have time. So Atri Rishi desired to have Krishna as his son, but he didn't know whether he was Brahma, Vishnu, or Shiva. He didn't know who was the supreme, so he was praying to all 3. And then one day, Narada Muni in the Swagaloka, he was proclaiming very loudly the chastity of Anasuya, the wife of Atri Rishi. And the 3 wives of Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh became envious of this, because they considered themselves to be the most chaste women in the universe. So this is Savitri, Parvati, and Lakshmi Devi. So these three wives go to their husbands and they request their husbands, Brahma, Shiva, and Mahesh, to please go to the ashram of Anasuya and try to break her chastity. So they go to the ashram disguised as mendicants, and they come into the ashram and they beg some alms from Anasuya. And when she's going to offer them, then the mendicants request that she offers them naked. So Anasuya thinks this is a strange request. So she runs up the mountain behind and asks her husband about this strange request of these mendicants. And her husband, in his transcendental vision, can see that this is none other than as Brahma, Shiva, and Mahesh have come to his ashram disguised as mendicants. So he tells his wife she should do whatever she thinks appropriate. So then Anasuya comes back down, and then she says, I will fulfill your request, but you also have to honor my request and become my sons. So all three of them suddenly become her little sons, and they're breastfeeding from her. So the three children are there, Brahma, Shiva, and Mahesh. And then after some time, the wives become disturbed that their husbands haven't returned in Swagaloka. And then they realize what has actually happened. And then they come down and in the form of young girls to Anasuya to request their husbands back. They tell Anasuya, we are actually your daughters-in-law. And Anasuya, she understands. And then the original manifestations of Mahesh, Brahma, and Shiva, they return to their posts in Swagaloka as universal controllers, etc. And these three boys grow up in the ashram of Anasuya. And these three boys from Lord Brahma, he's Soma, that we spoke about in the class today, and Durvasa from Shivji, and Dattatreya from Vishnu. So these three sons are there. So if you ever go to Durvasa Rishi ashram, it's a very, very beautiful ashram that my Gurudev built. And inside the courtyard, all around the edge, are beautiful dioramas depicting this pastime that I've just described. And there's very gorgeous deities of Radha and Krishna on center stage. And then there's the deity of Jamuna Devi and her crocodile carrier on the left, the Shakti side of Radhika. And on the right of Krishna is Durvasa Rishi sitting on the stage. And the whole village now daily performs Harinam Sankirtan. Every day the villagers themselves, they perform Sankirtan, which is influenced by the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, fascinating place, Durvasa Rishi Ashram, just on the other side of the Jamuna from Mathura. Very close. You can take a boat across the Jamuna and then you can walk. It's about 1 kilometer on the other side. So that's about Durvasa, something about Durvasa. I don't know how Nidhuvan got here. I think that might have been an editorial mistake. But it's Durvasa Muni. So text 109. Krishna Dasa Vaidya Ara Pandita Shekara Candra Ara Caitanya Shastivara. The 51st branch of the Chaitanya tree was Krishnadas Vaidya, and the 52nd was Pandita Shekhar, and the 53rd was Candra, and the 54th was Shastivara, who was a great Sankirtan performer. Purport. In the Gauraganadish Deepika 171, it is mentioned that Srinath Mishra was Chitrangi, and that Chandra was Manohar Gopi. So again, these personalities from the Braj Leela were manifesting as Mahaprabhu's parikars. Text 110. Srinath Mishra Subhananda Sri Ram Ishana Srinidhi Sri Gopal Kanta Mishra Bhagavan. The 55th branch was Srinath Mishra, and the 56th was Subhananda, and the 57th was Sri Ram, and the 58th was Ishana, and the 59th was Srinidhi, and the 60th was Sri Gopikanta, and the 61st was Mishra Bhagavan. Purport. Subhananda, who formerly lived in Vrindavan as Malati, was one of the kirtan performers who danced in front of the Rath Yatra car during the Jagannath festival. It is said that he ate the foam that came out of the mouth of the Lord while he danced the Rath Yatra car, before the Rath Yatra car. Ishan was the personal servant of Srimati Sachi Devi, who showered her great mercy upon him. He was also very dear to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there are many pastimes about Ishan. He wrote one book called Advaita Prakash, I think it's called. And many pastimes about because when Mahaprabhu leaves this world, then Mother Sachi is just dependent on the support from Ishan. And when Jiva Goswami comes on the first parikrama with Nityananda, Ishan Thakur is there also and accompanies them on that first Navadvip Dham parikrama with Nityananda and Jiva Goswami. So many pastimes about Ishan Thakur. And of course, Mother Sachi Devi was there. Text 111. Shubudhi Mishra Hridayananda Kamala Nayana Mahesh Pandit Shrikara Sri Madhusadana. Translation. The 62nd branch of the tree was Subudhi Mishra. The 63rd was Hridayananda, and the 64th was Kamala Nayana. The 65th was Mahesh Pandit, and the 66th was Shrikar, and the 67th was Sri Madhusudan. Purport. Sri Bhaktisaranta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhasya, Subudhi Mishra, who was formerly Gunachudi in Vrindavan, installed Gaur Nityananda deities in a temple in the village known as Belagan, which is about 3 miles away from Shrikand. His present descendant is known as Govinda Chandra Goswami. So all these personalities we can read about, mostly in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. These personalities are referred to. So text 112. Purushottam Shri Galima Jagannatha Das Shri Chandra Shekhar Vaidya Dvija Haridas. Translation. The 68th branch of the original tree was Purushottam. The 69th was Sri Galim. The 70th was Jagannath Das, and the 71st was Sri Chandrasekhar Vaidya, and the 72nd was Dvija Haridas. Purport. Srila Bhaktisaranta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhasya, there is some question about whether Dvija Haridas was the author of Astatara Shata Nam. He had 2 sons named Sridham and Gokulananda, who were disciples of Srinivasacharya. Their village, Kanchana Gadia, is situated within 5 miles of Bajaso station, and the 5th station from Ajmaganj in the district of Murshidabad in West Bengal. So these are the descriptions of their location today. If you're traveling around in Bengal, you can go to these different places and see for yourselves the history of these personalities. Although, as I said, a lot of this history is still covered over. It's described that Goradam is covered at present, but in the next 100 years it will become more uncovered. When I was traveling there around, we were with 2 devotees who were very fluent in Bengali, and they were finding these very small books in all the different temples, just in Bengali. So they were gathering many of these books to translate into English, and they're doing it at the moment. So gradually, all of these personalities will come more to light for our relish of their pastimes. Text 113. Ramadasa Kavichandra Shri Gopala Das Bhagavatacharya Tako Sharanga Das. Translation. The 73rd branch of the original tree was Ramdas, the 74th was Kavichandra, and the 75th was Sri Gopal Das. The 76th was Bhagavatacharya, and the 77th was Thakur Sarang Das. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati writes in his Anubhasya, in the Gaura Ganadesh Deepika 203, it is said, Bhagavatacharya compiled a book entitled Krishna Prem Tarangini, and he was the most beloved devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Lord Sri Chaitanya visited Varanaga, now a suburb of Calcutta, he stayed in the house of a most fortunate Brahmin who was a very learned scholar in Bhagavat literature. As soon as this Brahmin saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he began to read Srimad Bhagavatam. When Mahaprabhu heard his explanation, which expounded Bhakti Yoga, he immediately became unconscious in ecstasy. Lord Chaitanya later said, I have never heard such a nice explanation of Srimad Bhagavatam. I therefore designate you Bhagavat Acharya. Your only duty is to recite Srimad Bhagavatam. That is my injunction. His real name was Raghunath. His monastery, which is situated in Varahanagar, about 3.5 miles north of Calcutta, on the bank of the Ganges, still exists and is managed by the initiated disciples of the late Sri Ramdas Babaji. Presently, however, it is not well managed, as in the presence of Babaji Maharaj. Another name of Thakur Sarang Das was Saranga Thakur. Sometimes he was also called Sarangapani or Sarangadar. He was a resident of Navadvip in the neighborhood known as Moduram Dvip, and he used to worship the Supreme Lord in a secluded place on the bank of the Ganges. He was not accepting disciples, but he was repeatedly being inspired from within by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to do so. It's actually described that Mahaprabhu himself requested him that he should accept a disciple in his older age to assist him with all his various pujas and sevas he had to do. And he replies to the Lord, yes, the first person I see tomorrow, I will initiate. Thus one morning he decided, whomever I see, I shall make my disciple. When he went to the bank of the Ganges to take his bath, by chance he saw a dead body floating in the water, and he touched it with his feet. This immediately brought the body to life, and Thakur Sarangdas accepted him as his disciple. So this disciple became known as Thakur Murari. But the parents of this dead boy, because when you get bitten by a snake or your body is too young to cremate, they just throw you in the Ganges. And this young boy had been bitten by a snake the previous day and had died. And the parents had put the body in the Ganges. And then the next day, Sarang had brought that same body back to life again, using the Diksha mantras. So he initiated that boy. So when that boy revived his consciousness, he was immediately indebted and understood, this is my spiritual master for life. Because later on, the parents, they hear about him, and they come and they request Sarang Goswami to allow their son to come back. And their son refuses to go back, says, no, I am here now. This is my eternal father, my spiritual master. I remain with him. And that personality is called this Thakur Murari. This disciple later became famous as Thakur Murari, and his name is always associated with that of Sri Saranga. You can hear this pastime in Mamgachi when we go on the Navadvip Parikrama. This pastime is spoken about. His disciplic succession still inhabits the village of Sar. There is a temple at Mamgachi that is said to have been started by Sarang Thakur. Not long ago, a new temple building was erected in front of a bakul tree there and is now being managed by the members of the Gaudiya Math. There's a Siddha bakul tree, or a bakul tree, which is practically hollow inside. We can see it there today. It's like the Siddha bakul tree in Puri, the same hollow inside. It is said that the management of the temple is now far better than before. In the Gaura-Ganadish Deepika 172, it is stated that Sarang Thakur was formerly a gopi named Nandimukhi. Nandimukhi in Krishna Lila is the granddaughter of Punamasi. She's the daughter of Sandipani Muni. Sandipani Muni is the son of Punamasi. And Sandipani Muni has two children, Madhumangal and Nandimukhi. And they come with their grandmother Punamasi to Braj before Krishna is even born. So this is Nandimukhi, and this was originally Sarang Thakur, was formerly a gopi named Nandimukhi. Some devotees say that he was formerly Prahlad Maharaj, but Sri Kavi Kanpur says that his father, Shivananda Sen, does not accept this proposition. So I think we should just accept him as Nandimukhi or Sarang Goswami. The whole purpose of all these descriptions, as I've said repeatedly, is to demonstrate Mahaprabhu is adventing with all his eternal Nityasiddha parikars. Text 114. Jagannatha Tirtha Vipra Shri Jagannakinath Janakinath Gopalacharya Ara Vipra Vaninath. Translation. The 78th branch of the original tree was Jagannath Tirtha. The 79th was the Brahmana Sri Janakinath. The 80th was Gopalacharya, and the 81st was the Brahmana Vaninath. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhasya, Jagannath Tirtha was one of the 9 principal sannyasis who were Lord Chaitanya's associates. Vaninath Vipra was a resident of Champahati, a village in the district of Burdwan, near the town of Navadvip, the police station of Purvastali, and the post office of Samudraga. We go there also every year on our Navadvip Parikrama. The temple there was very much neglected, but it was renovated in the Bengali year of 1328 AD 1921 by Paramananda Brahmachari, one of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciples, who reorganized the Seva Puj, worship in the temple, and placed the temple under the management of the Sri Caitanya Math of Sri Mayapur, which it still is. Today it's been very nicely maintained by one brahmachari called Nityananda Das, Nitai Das, and very gorgeous deities of Gaur Gadadha are there in the temple of Champahati. Very beautiful. We go every day, and it's also the place of Jaidev Goswami, had his cottage there in that garden. In the temple, as it now exists, the deity of Gaur Gadadha is worshipped strictly according to the principles of the revealed scriptures. Champahati is 2 miles away from both Samudraga and Navadvip station on the Eastern Railway. So this is very accessible for us today. Text 115. Govinda Madhava Sudeva Tinabai Yan Sabara Kirtane Nache Chaitanya Nitai. Translation. The 3 brothers, Govinda, Madhav, and Vasudeva, were the 82nd, 83rd, and 84th branches of the tree. Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda used to dance in their kirtan performances. Purport. The 3 brothers, Govinda, Madhav, and Vasudeva Ghosh, all belonged to a Kayashta family. Govinda established the Gopinath temple in Agradvip, where he resided. There's a very beautiful pastime about this deity. Govinda, he looked after the Gopinath deity, and he personally had one seminal son. Govinda had a child, a seminal son, who died. And Govinda was very, very unhappy that now there would be no one to perform his Shraddha ceremony at the time of his departure. But he was worshipping the Gopinath deity. Then the Gopinath deity told you, why are you lamenting? I am your son. I am your child. I will perform your Shraddha festival. So every year there's a festival at this place and in Agradweep. And the Gopinath temple is brought out and very beautiful arrangement is made for puja, etc. It's an incredible deity. We have a picture. I'll send you another picture of this deity today. So Govinda worshipped this deity, but his two brothers, Madhav and Vasudev, they're just kirtaniyas, not the deity worshippers. Madhava Ghosh was expert in performing kirtan. No one within this world could compete with him. He was known as the singer of Vrindavan and was very dear to Sri Nityananda Prabhu. It is said that when the three brothers performed Sankirtan, immediately Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda would dance in ecstasy. According to the Gaura Ganesh Deepika 188, the three brothers were formerly Kalabati, Rasolasa, and Gunatunga, all three gopis, who recited the songs composed by Sri Vishaka Gopi. The three brothers were among one of the 7 parties that performed kirtan when Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu attended the Rath Yatra festival at Jagannath Puri. Bakreshwar Pandit was the chief dancer in their party. This is vividly described in Adi-lila chapter 13, verses 42 and 43. So there are many pastimes. I'm just going quickly through, but we're getting an idea here. So if you just heard about these and you're listening, then at another time we'll hear about these personalities in more detail. And because we've already become familiar with their names, etc., then we'll be able to acknowledge them and remember them more clearly. Because remembering the personalities with Mahaprabhu is the same as remembering Mahaprabhu. We remember his entourage, we remember Mahaprabhu. So text 116. Ramadasa Abhirama Sakya Premarasi Solangrera Kashta Tuli Ye Karila Vansi. Ramdas Abhiram was fully absorbed in the mellow of friendship. He made a flute of a bamboo stick with 16 knots. This flute was massive. It was from the log of a tree. It was so big. Abhiram Das Thakur is the original personality in Mahaprabhu's Leela as Sridham Saka. Sridham Saka is that original Abhiram Das Thakur. And the pastime there is very beautiful, that they were playing hide and seek in Krishna Leela in around Nandagaon, near Nandagaon. And Subal Saka, he hid himself so well, they couldn't find him. Krishna and Balaram couldn't find him. And then they decided at that time to actually begin Gaura Leela. This is how it's described, to begin Gaura Leela. And they all, the Sakas, came across and took the form of Mahaprabhu's associates in Gaura Leela. And then one day, Mahaprabhu is saying to Nityananda, where is Subal Saka? Why has he not come? And then they realized that they were playing a game of hide and seek and they couldn't find him. He hid so well. And today we can go to his ashram there and see his beautiful ashram in Vrindavan. So Nityananda told Mahaprabhu at that time, don't worry, I'll go back and get him myself. So he goes back to Braj and he hunts around and he finds Subal Saka's hiding place. Subal Saka has been hiding for 5,000 years. And he's an enormous body, the same sizes as they were 5,000 years ago. Nityananda finds him and says, Subal, why are you sitting here? you should actually be, we've all gone to Goradam, we've all gone to Navadvip, please come. So Subal says, no, I don't want to take birth from another womb again. And Nityananda says, don't worry, we'll make an arrangement. And then Subal says, but how do I know you're Nityananda? You're so much smaller. If you're Nityananda and you're saying you're Balaram, Balaram is my closest friend. No, I'm sorry, this is Sridham. This is not Subal Saka. This is Sridham. Okay, big mistake. This is Sridham, the brother of Radharani. Sridham Saka, not Subal Saka. Sridham Saka. So Sridham Saka is saying to Nityananda 500 years ago that, oh, now you're so small. And he said, if you want to prove, and then Nityananda says, well, how can I prove that I'm Balaram, your friend, Balaram? And Sridham Saka says, well, the only person who could ever keep up to me when I was running was Balaram. So if you're really Balaram, you'll be able to keep up with me if I run. So Nityananda says, okay. So then Sridham, he starts to run around Govardhan Hill. He runs around 3 times, very, very fast around Govardhan Hill. And then he's thinking he's left this little Nityananda far behind. But then he looks right beside his shoulder and he's right there. And then he realizes, oh, this is my old friend Balaram. And then he realizes everything that Nityananda was saying was true. That this is actually Balaram. But then again, he says, I don't want to take birth from another mother. So Nityananda, he says, no problem. You can come in the same body. You can come across in the same form as Sridham. So he comes across to Gordam. And of course, he's 3 times as big as all the other parikars of Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu sits on one shoulder, Nityananda sits on the other shoulder, and they bring him down to normal size. And then he's manifested. Then they give him the name Ramdas Abhiram, or Abhiram. And his ashram is there. Now you can go to visit his ashram in Kanakula Krishna Nagar. So there's no recording of Abhiram's mother and father because he doesn't have a seminal birth. In real life, there's no seminal birth because this pastime actually happened. He's an eternal Nityasiddha Parika. And his wife also manifests in another beautiful way. We can tell that story later. She also comes down the Jamuna into the Ganga, and she also manifests with him. So you can come to this place and you can see this beautiful pastime place of Abhiram Das Thakur. He's the first of the Dwadasa Gopals, from Abhiram Das Thakur, then Sundaranand Thakur, then Kamalakara Pipalaya, then Gauridas Pandit, then Parameshwari, then Dhananjaya, and then Mahesh Pandit, then Purushottam Pandit, then Kala Krishna Das, then Purushottam Naga, and then Udaran Thakur, then Kolavetra Sridhar. These are the 12 Dwadasa Gopals of Nityananda. And Abhiram Das Thakur is the first of those Gopals. So very famous personality. But it's described that he carried a flute that he'd made from a log because he's so powerful. And they would uproot trees, these Dwadasa Gopals, associates of Nityananda, when they roamed around having festivals in Bengal, when Mahaprabhu was in Puri, they would do the most tremendous feats because they were empowered by Nityananda Baladev. Sometimes it's described they would fast for 3 months and have these. This is all described in Caitanya Bhagavat. So then, text 117. Prabhur Agnaya Nityananda Gauda Chalila Tanra Sange Tina Jane Prabhu Anjanaya Aila. Translation: by the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 3 devotees accompanied Sri Nityananda Prabhu when he returned to Bengal to preach. Text 118. Ramdas Madhava Ara Vasudeva Ghosh Prabhu Sange Rahi Govinda Paya Santosh. Translation: these 3 were Ramdas, this is Abhiram Das Thakur, the first of the Dwadasa Gopals, accompanying Nityananda, Madhava Ghosh, and Vasudev Ghosh. Govinda Ghosh, however, remained with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri and thus felt great satisfaction. Text 119. Bhagavatacharya Chiranjiva Sri Raghunandan Madhavacharya Kamalakanta Sri Yadunandan. Translation. Bhagavatacharya, Chiranjeev, and Raghunandan, Madhavacharya, Kamalakanta, and Yadunandan were all among the branches of the Chaitanya tree. Purport. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhasya, Sri Madhavacharya was the husband of Lord Nityananda's daughter, Ganga Devi, or she's sometimes called Ganga Muni. She has two names. On her samadhi place that I just described in Kadaha, it describes her as Ganga Muni. He took initiation from Purushottam, a branch of Nityananda Prabhu. It is said that when Nityananda Prabhu's daughter married Madhavacharya, the Lord gave him the village named as Panjinaga as a dowry. Madhavacharya's temple is situated near the Jirat railway station on the Eastern Railway. According to the Gaurgesh Ganadipika 169, Sri Madhavacharya was formerly the gopi named Madhavi Kamalakanta, belonged to the branch, formerly gopi named Madhavi. Full stop. Madhavi Kanta, Kamalakanta, belonged to the branch of Sri Advaita Prabhu. His full name was Kamalakanta Vishwasa. So we're familiarizing ourselves with some of these personalities. I'm going very quickly through them. We could linger on these for a long time because all have amazing pastimes connected with them, mostly described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, but there are also other books available about Nityananda Prakash, etc., Advaita Prakash, different books that are there describing these different personalities and their pastimes. So gradually, we'll become more and more familiar with all the parakas of Sachinandan Gaurahari. So we'll stop at verse 120 today. So Sachinandan Gaurahari ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Itai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Go Premanandi, Hari Bol. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubevacha, Patitanam Pavnebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha.